What's going on, Wolfpack Nation? Welcome to a very, very special edition of Tuffy Talk Live, coming to you on a weird Wednesday. I think that's Wednesday. The snow has got me all confused, but we're here to do a Pac-9 preview, and I decided to call up some heavy hitters, no pun intended. I got Mr. Cal Parker, I'll get it right, from the only dedicated NC State baseball podcast that's completely dedicated. From the Pack Homer podcast. And I got Mr. Ethan Berry from IPS, two dudes that know ball, love ball. And I figured this was the collaboration that nobody asked for, but they're going to get anyway. Gentlemen, how we doing?
Doing good, Greg. Appreciate you having us. And man, I'm so excited. I was telling the boys last night that we're 15-6 in basketball. I obviously love that. And we finished up our football season on a good note, but the real season starts here in less than a month, so can't wait.
Less than 2 weeks, sir. Well, we're at 2 weeks because I leave for Puerto Rico in 2 weeks from today. So I know you're going down.
Yes, sir.
Down there. But Ethan, you excited, sir?
Oh, best time of year,
Absolutely.
It should warm up a little bit. Spring training is going to be starting soon, and college baseball, nothing beats it.
I know. It's a good thing that the Wolfpack will be starting off in Puerto Rico because it looks pretty chilly down there in 2 weeks. So it will be nice during the week that they come back home. But let's get into it. Just a quick recap of last year. The Pack went 35-21 overall, 17-11 in the ACC. So a pretty successful year there, but they did end up getting bounced out of the Auburn Regional to a really tough Auburn team. But a lot to be excited about. We have Mr. Elliott Avent coming back for his 30th year. Guys, what do we think about 30 years at one position? I'll start with you, Ethan.
I mean, it's unbelievable. It's that, like the consistency at which, State wins, there's never, I don't knock on wood, I guess there's never a bad team,
Yeah.
And just the year to year, just stability of it. A lot of continuity on the staff, alongside Avent. I think there's things you can do better, but all in all, I don't think you can possibly argue with, the results and over 30 years. And, it's one of those things every year. It's like, well, is this going to be for Avent? Is this going to be it for Avent? And you just, at this point, like, I've kind of written it off. It'll be his job until he decides it's not. I feel that way, at least.
Yeah, it does. Cal, 4 head coaches at NC State since 1945. Only 4 head coaches in like 80 years? Like World War II. Since World War II, we've only had 4 head coaches.
We said it on our show before too, Greg. Like the crazy that Elliott Avent should have been like a heavyweight wrestler because you can't get the guy down on the mat. I mean, I went through a period in my life. I followed NC State baseball for a long time, and I'm like, gosh, is he losing a step? Are we, recruiting, NIL? There's a lot of folks that knock Elliott for a lot of the things, but Elliott Avent has gone to 3 College World Series playing in a high school ballpark, and he just keeps winning and winning. Yeah. I mean, he won 35 games in year 29. So to Ethan's point, I think he's going to be around as long as he wants to. And he's won 1,000 games in Raleigh. I mean, it's pretty special.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. When you say a high school ballpark, I mean, the Doak sits roughly 2,500 people, right? And to have the longevity and the success with the lack of facilities, if you will. Now they are getting upgraded as we speak, and I wouldn't be surprised if they've already moved into their new digs. I know they were getting pretty close, but yeah, just a testament to him and what he's able to do, molding these guys into not only great ball players but even better human beings. So
yeah,
and you don't.
Okay. I was going to say now's a good time to plug, helping the facility upgrades. I mean, it's in Raleigh. We're talking about maybe getting up to a foot of snow on the ground this weekend. That means we'll probably get 2 inches. But we're playing baseball in a couple of weeks, and having an indoor and a pitching facility is pretty important right now because we definitely are not out on the outside very much right now. And you go around to these. I know, Greg, you travel more than probably me and Ethan combined, but you go around to these places like Arkansas and these SEC schools, Ole Miss, or even in the ACC to Clemson, and you look at these facilities. it's not only important because it helps you recruit, but it's really important because you don't ever know when you're going to have a 15-day stretch when it doesn't get above 40 degrees.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, I was just really going to say the same thing. Like, you don't realize, and it doesn't matter now as much as it used to, with in recruiting because of NIL and scholarships and things like that. But I didn't realize how bad State's ballpark was until I went to Florida State. I went down there. It was like 18 or 19, one of those years, and Florida State's ballpark isn't even that nice. It's big, but it's not that nice. And it was just like a completely different sport. And to me, I never really realized, like, man, this is such a problem until seeing that. And, like I said, does it matter as much anymore? No, but it still matters some.
Yeah, it's still a factor for sure, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so look, I am still to this day, like, I always tell people, like, people ask me, like, well, how long you been, going to games at NC State? And, like, I'll be honest, and I tell them, I said, my first NC State baseball game, and this may shock you guys if you've never heard this before, was in 2021 at the College World Series. I'd always watched from afar, which was always much more difficult, and it's definitely much easier to watch ball games now. But yeah, once 2021 happened, and I'm like, I'm all in. Like, so yeah, I'm with you. I try to get to as many games. I've got a couple of series that I'm going to, road series that I want to make this year. I've kind of started pretty much on all the football stadiums, done a third of the basketball. Now I'm trying to get onto baseball. And just to that point, Ethan, just seeing how the other half live. And just kind of be appreciative.
What's your favorite road place you've been to?
For baseball?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Charlottesville. It's not even close. Yeah. Cal, did you go to Charlottesville at all?
I've never been to Charlottesville. I do like getting the milkshake at the U. I've been to the U.
Yeah, that's solid. Look, and I hate to say it, like, Carolina's got a nice facility. As much as that pains me to say, they take it seriously. And but hopefully with some of these upgrades, we'll start kind of catching up. But let's just go ahead and dive into to the season and kind of think what we talking. We'll start with guys that transferred out, and I've got a list, and if I've and I'm kind of only going to hit the major guys. I don't really need to hit every single guy because there's baseball is very fluid, but 3 guys that kind of just come to mind for me. Obviously the big one, Alex Sosa, headed down to Miami. That was I think a little bit of a gut punch to Wolfpack Nation. And then you got another one that hit me just more because how much he loves NC State is Jackson Lucas. I think that a guy that I think is going to see some success at Liberty. And then just for me, another personal tie, I hope that he does really well is Jake Bechtel. I know he didn't get a whole lot of play here, but I'm excited to see what he's able to do with more opportunity. And there's other ones. Is there anyone that I didn't mention that you think maybe will be someone that we will miss this upcoming season? I know we had some mainly some pitchers that ended up leaving, but really didn't make a mark at State. Whether it was just opportunity or injury.
I was really big, Greg, on Trent Lyons.
Yeah, it's a good one.
I thought he was such a good athlete and that he could do so many different things. Obviously, it never kind of came to fruition at NC State, but I mean, the kid was a mega athlete, and he kind of battled injury. So I think that was projecting out. Well, I think he's going to have a big year at Kennesaw State, and then obviously we were. I love the Bechtel family. I mean, we got to know him personally, and hate to lose Jake. And then, even though he's not playing anywhere this year, I mean, Matt Hebner played a lot of baseball. I mean, he started in a College World Series.
No,
he's not playing anywhere, and started in a College World Series. So,
yeah,
obviously he wasn't, a big, offensively, it wasn't a big part of what we did, but, that he still could have been on our roster.
Yeah, well, that's a good point. I mean, if nothing else, right? I mean, someone that's been to the College World Series can bring you some leadership. Really solid defensive guy. But again, I think this is part of the problem you have in the NIL world, transfer portal era, where you have 5,000 kids and there's only 200 open spots. And again, there's hyperbole there, but it's the grass isn't always greener on the other side for guys.
Yeah, and Cal, I mean, you mentioned Lyons, so I know we know that's a guy that State liked, but there was the other Austin Fort, Ryan
Mhm.
Jaros. It was an interesting group of I guess they were sophomores last year, but
Yeah.
rising. I guess out of high school they were highly sought after kids, and didn't play at their previous stops or did play and played a little bit, and obviously ended up at NC State, and it just didn't work out for a variety of reasons. Ryder Woodson, obviously as a
That's a
freshman.
big one. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
a
I mean
that potentially is probably the biggest one next to Sosa. That's a good call.
maybe I do think there's an
Right.
element of State recruiting over Woodson, and probably all these guys, but it was an interesting group of players. Like again, all those guys played last year. If Lyons was healthy, certainly he likely gets more at bats. But yeah, I mean, to me, it was a group of interesting guys that you brought in, and it didn't work out to the degree that you would have liked. But you also didn't really pick a guy. Like you
Mhm.
played Hebner some, you played Jaros some, you played Woodson some. So, obviously all those guys have now found places where hopefully they can get some good playing time, and I like most of them. I imagine they'll have good years.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Jarvis was kind of a. I mean, Greg, I know you were down in Jacksonville last year because
Mhm.
when we were down there, and just knowing LA event, I knew like 5 innings into the season, I'm like, this guy can hit, but he's not like Elliott's not going to watch him kick it. He's just that's not Elliott event, and
It
he
reminded me a
struggles.
lot. Yeah, it reminded me a lot of our boy Tommy White over there at third base. It was brutal to watch him feel, but definitely could tear the ball up. Obviously, not the same comparison offensively, but they both could hit.
Yeah. So, but yeah, but to Ethan's point too about the NIL, if those guys do pre NIL, you think about guys like those kind of guys sticking around and developing.
Mhm.
Who's to say, or like wherever Jarris or Austin Fort end up this year, they don't hit 15 home runs. Like we don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, Matt comes in here and hits 20, what was it, 23, 24 home runs after he hit 9 or
Yeah.
something at DCU. So
Yeah.
that development thing is gone. It's like
Yeah.
we
Yeah.
live in the now.
Yeah, and I think part of that's just the age that we are. People want satisfaction, gratification right now. They don't want to wait. But yeah, to your point, Jaros did end up at Rutgers, and Austin Fort ended up at Michigan. So they'll both be in the Big Ten together. Yeah. Um, and now let's talk about the incoming guys, right? Both freshmen and portal guys, and it's been roughly 50% turnover for the last couple of years for baseball. Now, one thing to note, the roster has dropped down from 40 to 34, correct? Is that right? I think that's
I think that
I think
sounds right.
34.
Yeah.
I think 34
Yeah.
is the right number.
36 maybe? Is it 34?
Maybe
I think 34 is right. It
Okay.
might be 30.
I don't know.
Don't hold me to it.
I do.
But
I think it's
fully funded.
yes, can be fully funded. That's a great point as well. And then now I'm 99% sure it's 34 because now all 34 players are postseason eligible. You don't have to drop your roster
Okay.
down like you
And
had to in past
I'm
years.
sure you still have to drop some for travel, right?
It's a good question. I don't know. Oh, you mean
Okay.
regular season travel?
Yeah, regular
Yeah,
season travel.
probably. I would.
Because they only travel with like 26 or 27 or something like that.
Yeah, that's getting way into the weeds for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, again, just one of those weird things. But I guess we'll start with some of like the incoming freshmen that we can see, having an impact on the team this year. I think first we'll start with Luke Hemrick, local kid out of Apex, who I think the team is expecting big things from. You kind of saw some glimpses of that in fall ball. Thoughts on Luke and where he potentially slides into this team?
I think for me, I see opportunity in the bullpen for a lefty right away.
Mm-hmm.
You bring back Tristan Potts. Marone is starting, right? That's not a negotiable.
Right.
And Consiglio is going to be some combination of, you hope, right, if he bounces back from last year, of midweek guy. I would think potentially a weekend guy if he's throwing well, or a back end guy. And so I think that kind of leaves room in the middle for Hemrick. Kind of competing with Potts, who I thought did some interesting stuff last year. So to me, like clear, the bullpen as a whole, and we'll get to it, I'm sure, but the bullpen as a whole, there's just a bunch of interesting guys who you kind of just figure it out. But lefties, yeah, like Hemrick and certainly opportunity because you don't have a lot of lefties from a
Right.
numbers perspective. So I also wonder, like, it seems like State kind of always finds ways to start guys like Hemrick who kind of come in and maybe exceed expectations or you're better than they thought. So
Yeah.
I could see that happening down the road right now with such an established starting rotation. I think it's probably easiest for him to break in kind of as a loogie, as they call it.
Yeah. I'm going to give you another name, Cal, another kind of regarded freshman, Aiden Kitchens, another guy that you saw get some work in the fall. And for those, and I've said this on our previous, if the name Kitchens sounds familiar, it's because that's Des Kitchens' son, who used to be an offensive coach here at State and now is with UVA. But he's a
In
guy
football.
in football. Yes, correct. Thank you. That kind of came in late in the recruiting cycle, was committed to, I believe it was Georgia,
Missouri.
and then was it Missouri? Okay,
Yeah, it was Missouri.
I'm getting
Yeah.
confused with Preston Bond from last year. Bond was
Yeah.
with Georgia, but yeah, kind of came in late in the cycle, kind of flipped him, but 6'5", 250 pounds, so he's a big boy, right-handed pitcher from Georgia. So what do you think, Cal?
Yeah, he threw a lot of strikes too in the fall, and I think like he's 6'5", 250.
Yeah.
He's probably got a little bit more pitchability than what you kind of expect from a guy his size. That kind of looks, maybe you expect more to be of a raw athlete, but I think that from everything I've heard, I think that he's kind of meshed well with our team. He's also a guy that, like, he's been around D1 sports, and I mean his dad was in the NFL too with the Falcons. He's been around locker rooms, and I don't think that like he's gonna like come in and be oohed and awed about showing up to pitch on a Thursday night, week one, or I think the moment he's one of those freshmen that's pretty unique. I actually, when I was coaching, I coached a couple of kids over the years that their parents had that you call it pedigree, kind of like Luke Nixon. His dad played in the World Series. Probably coming in as a freshman, he's not going to be scared to death to go walk out on the dope night one. Well, I think Des Kitchen or Aiden, being Dez's son, he's kind of been around Division I sports and pro sports his whole life. I think he's pretty intriguing, and I do think that he's going to be one of those middle guys for us. And going back to what you said about Luke Hemrick earlier, Ethan, we're going to talk about the rotation, right? But
yeah, for sure.
I think there's a lot of questions about what happens there. And Ethan, you said it earlier, so I was just going to pile onto that while I had a chance. Hemrick is a guy that it would not surprise me if by May he's the third guy. Because we like to bring those guys in that are freshmen that, perform. And but also I'm worried about how many left-handers we have in the bullpen too. So anyway, we'll get to that later.
Yeah. Yeah, but I definitely, back to Hemrick, he's definitely a guy that I could see come May, June, that he's going to be in high leverage situations, and that I think they're going to get him poised for that thing that we like to do come May. And all right, so we brought a couple of freshmen in and again, we don't have time to go through this whole roster person by person, so I apologize. If we don't bring somebody up, but the one freshman that I wanted to bring up, are we missing anyone else that for big position players?
Are you just doing
pitching?
Are you just doing arms?
Yeah. Oh no, not necessarily arms. I was going to go Rhett Johnson next.
Yeah.
Because that's a name that has been thrown around, and I don't want you to give too much away, Ethan, because we will talk lineup later. Because I already know your thoughts here, but just a guy that Rhett Johnson coming in. True freshman, kind of just a scrappy guy at 5'9", 170. I think he's gonna I saw him a lot in the fall. Like he was the starting left fielder, which I was like, oh, this is a little interesting. But just kind of give me your thoughts, and this is someone obviously that Coach Avent is very high on in some of his preseason interviews. He's mentioned Rhett Johnson on numerous occasions.
Yeah, I mean, I think probably out of all these guys, created the most buzz. And it seems like, I mean, in the lineup, State always has a really good freshman every year. Like it's just
last year Ty Head, right?
Right, and so you just kind of go back, and there's always somebody. And so this year, I think Rhett Johnson's clearly the leader in the clubhouse for that. You mentioned it, scrappy guy. I think a bat to ball, like I don't know how much pop he's going to give you right now.
Mhm.
I don't think he was on the draft radar, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think he had that kind of upside, I should say, or was perceived to at the time. And one of the, I don't know, was it Perfect Game or one of the sites had him as like a top 150, 200 type of kid across the country, which is, that's obviously really solid. So look, State's got a loaded outfield. And so
We'll
I think
definitely get into that.
right. So to say, hey, this is our left fielder all fall, and every projection that I've seen so far in the spring, Aaron Fitt put his lineup out.
Yeah.
It's got Rhett Johnson in it.
Well, he has Everett Johnson. They didn't know that he's Rhett, but
Right,
yes.
right, yeah. So, I again, is that hitting leadoff? I don't know. Like, I think in terms of player comps, like, to me, if you could get what you got from Luke Nixon as a freshman out of him, like, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of that type of player, maybe like a Ty Head, who did last year. Head's obviously got a lot more pedigree, but yeah, I mean, it seems clear that Rhett Johnson's going to play. So certainly the I think the biggest name to know out of the bats out of that group.
Yeah, if I had to put the over under of him, I don't know if over under is the right term, but like it would probably be like plus 10,000 for him starting day one left field first game in Ponce.
You mean minus 10,000?
Oh, okay, yeah. See, this I'm not a betting guy, so you're right.
Yeah.
This is I'm very very careful with my money. I spend it on NC State travel.
Yeah, and it's weird because it's weird because Ellie Davant never gives out any rotation. Like, you're always guessing. But so far, he's made it clear that Rhett Johnson's going to be in the outfield.
Yeah,
and he's already told us who the starting rotation is.
And he kind of was hinting at Fraisman and Wright a little bit. But again, we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit. So, yeah. So those are probably.
I was just going to say, when we scrimmaged and read, if you had asked me when we walked off the field in Auburn last year, who's going to hit leadoff for us next year, I'd have told you Luke Nixon. And when Rhett Johnson, batted leadoff in both scrimmages, and then everything I've heard through the fall, he's got a long rope. And, last year, Ty Head early in the year, there was times where we're like, boy, it's there. And there's like times you're like, does he need to sit a day? And Rhett Johnson's going to play, guys. Yeah. And I've seen some of these projections, I've seen different projections from different folks.
Yeah, likewise.
He's got a long rope, boys. I think he's going to play, and he's going to play a lot. And so we'll see.
Yeah, agreed. Any other freshmen that, again, we just kind of, just tipping the surface here, but those to me are the pretty much the three impact freshmen that I see. Did I miss anyone really that you guys kind of have on your radar?
Well, one other guy, Cal, I don't know if you had anybody. One other guy I wanted to throw out, because D1 Baseball did just put out their ACC preview. They listed Sam Harris as one of the top 80 freshmen in the league. So that's kind of the only other name.
He got some work against Carolina and looked okay from what I remember.
Yeah. I just don't see a ton of opportunity. Like the lineup with what you've done in the portal, the lineup's pretty much set. I think you've really got to be playing at a high level as a freshman to kind of gain opportunity. And I think, these guys we've named, they've done that.
Yeah.
And it's so hard to predict the guys that come out of the bullpen. You assume Harris is come in as a bullpen guy. He's obviously a highly sought after guy to Raleigh. I think he's at Broughton. Is that right?
Yeah.
Is he at Broughton? So
that sounds right. Yeah.
Broughton. You feel like he's going to get an opportunity early in the year, but when you're coming out of the bullpen, it's like, do you get guys out or you don't? So if he gets guys out early, he's going to get more innings. If he doesn't get guys out early, we might not see him again.
And that's the way Avett and Chrysler work, right? You get like one, maybe two opportunities, and if you don't, you're to the back of the line. Yeah. And that's just right, wrong, or indifferent. That's just how they've operated for a long time.
And as we learned last year with Derek Smith, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter what your track record is. It's a couple opportunities, and if you're good, you're good. If not, you're done.
Yep.
Yeah.
Did we lose Greg?
I don't know, Ethan. We might have. Maybe he's coming back.
Everything just reset.
Everything
just reset. That was weird. I don't know what happened. I don't know. We got all kinds of weather going on, so who knows? But so for me, I think those are probably the freshmen that you'll kind of get to know. There's a couple other guys in there. Really, the other kind of name that you can really throw out there is DeCarlo, the catcher. But I fully expect him to redshirt this year, kind of do the Preston Bond thing from last year. But a catcher that came in that was fairly highly touted.
Yeah.
But again, the catching, and we'll talk about catching for sure because there's some stuff there that folks have thrown out some conspiracy theories, if you will. But so let's talk about the transfers. And we want to start transfers with pitching or fielders, or position players. What do you guys like?
Let's go arms. We've leaned arms so far.
Okay. So the first name I'll throw out there is Ryder Guarino, transfer from South Carolina. Numbers, not a lot of appearances or innings. I think he threw 18 innings last year. I had made some notes, but they got erased. And I know 24. Okay.
Yeah.
And I know Ethan, you're our numbers guy. But really good, strikeouts. He made 16 appearances, 2-0 record, 34 strikeouts in 24 innings. So over a strikeout an inning kind of guy. Yeah, I think this is a guy, and we can kind of talk maybe where we think these guys are going to fit into as we're going along, and then we can kind of do a wrap up at the end and kind of talk roles and starting lineups. But this is a guy for me that's going to be maybe he's the Nance of this year. I'm kind of thinking where you had Nance throw, he was kind of your tweener guy, your long relief. Again, I don't know if they were wanting to stretch him out like that, but kind of I'll start with you, Cal, and then I'll roll back to you, Ethan.
Of the arms,
yeah, for Guarino, like what do you see with him, and what are you thinking? What his role could be, ceiling.
Well, I thought we picked him up pretty quick, in the portal, and I think that coming from South Carolina, he's obviously pretty intriguing arm, SEC wise. I think there's some guys too coming back from injury, Greg, that kind of my point earlier, like what we do.
Ethan's definitely got a name for that category.
who throws well early and who doesn't, but I mean, anytime you have an SEC arm that you just so happen to add, I mean, I think in my notes, I had he was one of the ones I had a star beside. I think, Greg, that he's probably going to be. He's not. I don't think he's going to be a closer. I think he's probably like a 6th, 7th inning guy, and he also is a guy that maybe in the if say halfway through the year we make a change to rotation, he could be a midweek guy. So. I don't know. The bullpen is just so hard to figure out.
It is hard to predict. Yeah, it is hard to predict because they're just arms, right? And you can kind of slot them wherever. Some dudes like Duden had that nasty slider, so like that's like a great out pitch for a closer. So that kind of just made sense. But Ethan, kind of give me your thoughts here on Ryder.
Yeah, well, I mean, 24 innings in the SEC, like that's loud. As a freshman, like that. Those. You're doing something right to get those innings, and 32. The surface numbers aren't great, but 32% strikeout rate really jumps off the page. That's very, very high, and so I think clearly a guy who's got the ability to miss bats. Some things certainly that you're looking to tweak.
I think he gave up a decent amount of home runs. Was it him or Black? I can't remember.
I want to say it was Guarino. I don't have it.
Yeah, I think it was Guarino too.
D1, but
yeah.
Guarino and Black, certainly we'll get to Black, but these two guys I have a lot of faith in. Like I really trust Clint Chrysler's track record getting guys like this. Again, where do they fit in the bullpen? I don't know. One of them could be the closer, could be 7th inning, whatever. Who knows? As we said, a lot of times it's just the hot hand, but I feel really confident that they're going to contribute, and I really like their upside with Guarino in particular, his ability to miss bats.
Yeah, agreed. Well, you just mentioned Black, so we'll go there next. Kid we got from Duke, local kid from Cary. Again, I think another guy to your point that has a lot of upside. Didn't get a ton of work last year, but again, the upside is there. 6'2", 215. Made eight appearances, working 9 innings, striking out 18 batters. Really, like that jumps off the page, right? Like that's an insane number. So didn't his longest outing,
2 strikeouts in an inning.
Yeah, that's insane. That's an insane number.
And 6 of those runs he gave up were in the first 2 outs of his college career.
Wasn't it? It was like he had 1 blow up outing, or maybe it was 2, and then after that it really settled down.
2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the thing that's different with Black, it was only 9 innings at Duke,
Right.
which is odd, because they just, I mean, they're like a merry-go-round with their bullpen, and everybody
Mhm.
throws 25 innings. So he only threw 9, which is odd. I believe a number of them were in ACC play, but again, 41% strikeout rate. You guys mentioned that. I lean Black a little bit more than I should say I like his profile. I mean, you're guessing on both of these guys right now, but I do like Black's profile a little bit more. But Garino's got 15 more innings under his belt. I think that matters some. But
Sure.
again, I like both of them as solid. Hey, I know I'm going to get something out of them in the bullpen. They may not be your best reliever, but they're going to be valuable for you.
Right.
And
Yeah.
they may be your best reliever, to be honest.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. His longest outing of the season was 2 innings against Cal. So
Yeah.
again, didn't get a ton of work to your point. But again, I think there's a huge upside there.
He had some innings this summer with it was the Salamanders, right? The Black pitch for the
Yeah.
summer where he just went out and absolutely didn't he have one outing where he just mowed for like 7 or 8 innings and I mean just unhittable. So I'm with you, Ethan. I think Garino 24 innings in the SEC. I mean, they got their ass kicked a lot too, so that matters. And I will say, I will say that, Duke and Pollard, he's at UVA now, but I think, just from my previous career as a baseball coach before I left teaching school, Chris Pollard's a hell of a baseball coach. And I think being in that program, over at Duke, he's been coached up very well. He's obviously going to come over here and I feel be coached up very well too. But between the two, I think Black has a ton of upside. It's hard to strike out 18 guys in 9 innings. So just my 2 cents.
A 47% ground ball rate too, 367 FIP, like a lot to like with Black under the hood.
Yeah. And I'll throw this one out here. The other transfer arm that, unless I'm missing someone, which is just, I think one of those guys that we just kind of took a flyer on was Danny Heinz, grad guy from Arkansas, or his most recent stop was Arkansas, a local kid from Cary. So maybe just, kind of wanting to come home, kind of finish it out. Don't know what I don't really know a lot about what kind of what we could expect from him. Just kind of one of those wild cards, but at least we'll throw his name out there for conversation's sake.
Yeah, I don't, he didn't pitch
Right.
last year, so I don't know if that was injury or what. Not a guy I really have a ton of expectation for, but
likewise,
take him, and who knows.
I think he's 23 years old too, so if we're going the Kirk Signetti route, just get all the old guys you can and see how that checks out. But
yeah, absolutely. On a side note, this is totally unrelated. Did you see that they're auctioning off his headset that he wore for the national championship game?
Really?
It's for NIL. Yeah, last time I checked, it was at $15,000. I'm sure it'll fetch a lot more than that. But
yeah,
this is how you get creative in today's age to throw money out there. But anyway, back to our regular scheduled program. Kind of now shifting over to position players. I don't know. You know what? I'm gonna get Ethan already spun up and fired up and ready to go. He already knows what name I'm gonna throw out here.
I gotta pull him up. Let me pull him up. Right.
He knows exactly where I'm going. He and Mr. James Henderson have gone round and around over this name, and so we will rehash that. Ethan, I will let you introduce the next gentleman that we're going to talk about.
Andrew Wiggins.
Yes.
Do you guys want to guess what his career on base percentage is? 256 plate appearances at Indiana. 2 years at Indiana.
On base percentage, I'm going to go. I'll take a flyer, 565.
No, it's not that high, but it's high.
Okay.
Cal, you got to guess?
I honestly have no idea.
Yeah, I didn't either.
You caught me off guard.
457.
Okay, that I wasn't too. I mean, there's a little bit off, but
it wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
Andrew Wiggins should be playing every day. If I was making the lineup, he would be probably after McHugh and Bargo, my top priority to get in the lineup. I don't care where it is. I don't care if it's in the outfield. I don't care if it's at DH. I don't care if it's
Can he
at
catch?
first base. Can he catch? Right? Can he catch? Anywhere. Again, that's just his on base ability. There was some stuff going around when State landed him in the summer about his underlying data. He hits the ball extremely hard, probably harder than anybody State has had. His biggest issue, he doesn't hit for power,
Right.
Because he doesn't hit the ball in the air, and he's not aggressive at the plate. Part of the reason he walks so much. So you probably don't want him. Probably want his on base percentage coming down some, to be honest. But a guy who's got big league exit velocities, and again doesn't pull the ball in the air. And so to me, that's a very simple tweak. Again, easier said than done. It's an easy goal, I guess, to have in mind. Is it an easy fix? I don't know.
Well, can I pause you there for a second?
Yeah.
When you have a guy like Chris Hart, and you saw what he did with a Garrett Pennington and AMAC, where their career home run numbers weren't like jumping off the page, like it feels like this is a Chris Hart special project.
It does, but I also think sometimes those guys are like hidden gems. Like, and Chris McHugh to me is a good example. Like,
absolutely,
if you looked at McHugh's profile, like there wasn't anything that jumped out at you that you were like, this, you unlock this and he's a star. But they did anyway.
Yeah.
But to me, Wiggins has this very simple hit the ball in the air, pull the ball to right field in the air. And I mean, to me, we're talking like ACC Player of the Year upside. Like, this is a guy who, look, State could not play him this year and he would still get drafted. Like, that's the kind of upside that he has. So yeah, that's my Wiggins rant. I'll let you guys go. I don't want to go all night on Wiggins.
No,
but,
it's all good.
Certainly, we will be discussing him a lot this year.
Yeah, and again, before I turn it over to you, Cal, I think again the raw numbers just show that a guy is primed for breakout, and that again, I think when we talk about him and we talk about Bargo, I think these are just two dudes that have a lot of talent that just got recruited over, and it's just not a lack of like talent, if you will. But Cal, kind of give me your report on Mr. Wiggins.
So the outfield's hard, and I've heard Wiggins has got some insane. He's shown some insane exit velos. I think like getting guys to hit balls in there is a little bit harder sometimes than we think, because like
easier said than done for sure.
If Chris McHugh would just hit the ball in there, he'd get 25 home runs.
Same, yep.
And and I do think Chris McHugh is going to hit the ball in there. We'll talk about that later, but I do think he's going to hit it in there a little bit more. But the outfield right now is really, really intriguing, because like you feel like Ty Head is going to play 56 times if he's healthy.
Yeah.
Obviously, everybody that is listening to any of A-Vent talking feels like Red Johnson's an A-Vent guy. And then you got this brave, Frazeman, who probably a draft pick too. So the outfield is really hard. And then I've heard like really good things about Devin Mitchell. I've heard Devin Mitchell can hit it to Greensboro. So like you have all these guys that you're trying to cram into the outfield. I mean, honestly, Ethan just like opened my eyes. I didn't realize like the metrics on Wiggins. You go back and look at 256 and 4 home runs. You're like, 43 games.
Yeah.
I don't really know. But I mean, that's a big number, that on base percentage. And Ty Head, that's kind of what he lived on last year for a while. Everybody's like, he doesn't hit the ball out of the park. He has these ugly. I mean, Ty Head had I love Ty Head. I'll be the president of Ty Head fan club. But I want to tell you, last year,
be vice president.
Yeah, you can. Ty Head had the most. He set a single season record for ugly base hits. Like he put swings on balls that I'm like, it's just ugly. Yeah. And he's standing on first base. And there's something to be said about finding first base.
Well, he walked a lot too. Yeah, he walked a ton too.
And obviously Wiggins does that to have a 456 home base percentage.
So I mean, go ahead.
To me, like with Wiggins, it's a 125 WRC plus. So you're talking about 25% above average. And I know, some people just see the batting average and but to me, he walks in the door as an excellent leadoff hitter. Like, and again, you make the comparison to Ty Head, which they're just two different players. It's hard. Like Head doesn't have the power upside that Wiggins does, but Wiggins also doesn't have the defensive ability that Ty Head does. And that's why Ty Head is a much more highly regarded prospect right now than Wiggins is. And Cal, you said it. Ty Head's going to play in center field 56 times this year. Nobody's going to complain once about it because of the defense. But it's just like, to me, he's a plug and play leadoff hitter with the upside to, again, I threw it out there like conference player of the year. Like that's kind of the upside that I see with him. But again, if he's the player that he was at Indiana the last 2 years, it's a 450 on base, which like 450 is an unbelievable number.
Yeah, but
And
can I jump in here? Like,
yeah,
we don't, and again, this is not a knock on Andrew Wiggins, but like, I don't think we look at the Big Ten as the kind of conference that the ACC is, right? As far as talent. So does that translate from the Big Ten to the ACC? That would be my counter. Did it in a lesser conference.
It's definitely something that to be brought up. And I will point out, we talk about all these reports about Rhett Johnson, and man, I read these D1 reports. I have not seen a word about Andrew Wiggins, not a word. And so I don't know, like, does State think they're hiding him and he's some like secret? I think everybody, like all of the college baseball teams know who Andrew Wiggins is, if I had to guess, most of the scouts. So I do think that he is, probably not going to be in the opening day lineup, and he's probably going to have to work his way in. Like, I don't think this is we mentioned the Rhett Johnson leash, like, Wiggins isn't going to have that. And I kind of go back to Carter Trice. Like, does this end up being a Carter Trice situation where, it's early, he struggles, and then that's it, and he gets drafted at the end of the year late? So I do think that's a good point, Greg. The only thing I would say about that is these guys just play so much competition year round. Like, I'm sure Wiggins was in Cape Cod. And as
fun fact, I just looked that up. You got me so intrigued because I was unprepared for this on base percentage you threw at me. So Wiggins was 426 and 426 home base percentage and 69 plate appearances in the Cape.
Yeah,
like the guy finds first base. And he still only hit 255, but he's really good at getting to first base.
Yeah, he walks a lot, like a lot. Very selective.
And Ty Head did too. And to me, again, I haven't watched Andrew Wiggins. To me, again, I don't want this to be a knock on Ty Head, but I felt almost sometimes he was trying to walk instead of trying to hit. And is that like something that you see with Wiggins too? I don't know. Like, is he just, how patient is he? But again, like, I just think looking at his numbers, he's too patient. Like, you have too much upside, Andrew Wiggins. Like, you have to swing the bat. If your on base drops 30 points, and that's a fine trade-off for 10 more home runs. So,
but again, as the Ty Head vice president club, he was a true freshman trying to find his way in the game, and so I think you will see a different Ty Head this year than last year. Obviously, I mean, that's probably the dumbest comment I will ever probably make, but like, I just feel like it's so true.
And Ty Head's the top prospect on the team right now. Yeah. So, there's an element of that too, where Ty Head comes out and hits 12, 15 home runs. He might be a first-round pick.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at Wiggins,
and this is his draft year, so
when you look at Wiggins last year, though, and I had to go pull this up, but his on base percentage last year at Indiana is 454, but he slugged 414, and you're like, gosh, like, that is such a like statistical anomaly. You're like, I mean, like, damn, swing the bat. So,
I do. As much as I would love to hear Ethan talk for another half an hour on Andrew Wiggins, we do probably need to move on from.
We will on the IPS pod. Don't worry.
Absolutely, I know you will. You'll carry that water pail for the whole season. Moving over, probably to a less what's the word I'm looking for?
Debated.
What debated? Yes, thank you. Debated. Mr. Wyatt Pfeiffer, an infielder. And there's definitely some debate here, I think, but not as much as Andrew Wiggins, a senior that's come over from JMU, who State actually faced a couple years ago in the Raleigh regional. Actually put up some nice numbers against us in that regional, but probably projected to play third, I would say. And again, we'll talk more about where we think guys will end up. But he's a 6'2" guy, not a lot of pop, but just gets on base. He slugged last year 382, and 76 total bases. So a guy that's just he's not going to hit for a lot of pop. Only hit 241 and just right about 200 at bats. But again, a guy that I think that if we were talking about Havner earlier, like, I think this is a guy that kind of has a Havner type glove, but a little bit more upside offensively. So Cal, I'll start with you. Actually, no, I'll go with Ethan. I think I did Cal last time, but go ahead.
Yeah, no, that was my Andrew Wiggins rant, but I'll be quick on Pfeiffer.
That's fair. That's fair.
I think I do think the Hefner comparison is interesting. I think he can hit better. He's a better hitter than Hefner.
Agreed.
I mean, you look at last year, it was a 695 OPS. And the year before that, he was a very, very good player, a 904 OPS. And he's, his carrying tool is his glove. He's an excellent defender, probably the best third baseman defensively in the country. He led the country in defensive runs saved 2 years ago. I mean, that was a huge year for him, 900 OPS. Like, to put it in perspective, he was so good that year in 2024. He would have played third base at NC State over Alec Makarevich, who would have moved to DH. Like, that's how impactful Pfeiffer was. Last year, it was a step back. But, again, if you get that 2024 version, it's a plug and play, hitting fifth, sixth in your lineup, who, again, defensively, you're not going to find anybody better than him. So, again, with the way he hit last year, I think he's got to earn his playing time. I really do. He's, there's going to be options.
I will counter that. Avon is all about the glove at third. So I think he would have a longer leash than some of these other names that we're still gonna bring up.
So the two other names, I guess, are Sherman Johnson and Brandon Novy. Is that?
There's no way
Mikey
I see
Ryan.
Novy at third.
Or Mikey Ryan's going to play short.
Yeah, Mikey Ryan. Yeah.
Do you guys think Ryan's definitively at short?
I think he's going to start 56 times at shortstop. Might be wrong, but that's what I think right now.
Well, I think that's the second biggest debate is either him or Sherman Johnson, and I think we'll move to those guys here in just 1 second. Anything else we want to talk about on Pfeiffer? I compare him to a slightly better Havner, both defensively for sure, and offensively, I think he's going to give you more than that. But again, I think I agree with you, Cal. I think you're going to see him out there 45 to 52 times this year.
I think to Ethan's point too about it, whether he hits or not, like he did the year, not last year, but in 2024, that might open the door for somebody if they can play well. Because I do think, Elliott wants someone to play well defensively over there. So
right. And that's why you didn't see Jaros last year.
Exactly. So if he, he's got to hit, I think he's got a little bit more pressure on him than Hefner had behind him last year.
Yes.
I don't know he can just go out there every day and hit 220 and never lose his job. But if he plays defense like he did in 2024, and he hit 305, I think in 2024, I think he hit 305. Yeah. And so if he's a 300 hitter, he's going to play a lot. But if he's a 240 hitter, then we might see a merry-go-round. But I also think Elliott's like one of those guys that if it was up to Elliott, he'd write the same lineup card 56 times other than the starting pitcher. So every baseball coach is that way, though. Like they really want to, find 8 guys and run. But I think it will be intriguing to see if how much pressure he gets on it, because he's most college baseball teams, what they do is they got 3 or 4 positions that they're a little unsure about. You get a little bit of a merry-go-round. It might be with Everett or Rhett Johnson. It might be with at third base. You might see a little bit of exchanging and flopping around the middle, and then you kind of lock in and go. And I don't think that Pfeiffer's going to come in and not get a chance to play early. And I kind of pick him to start game 1. So we'll see where it goes from there.
Yeah, I would agree. I think he's your game 1 starter, but again, we'll get to that. Let's go Sherman Johnson, because this is an interesting one. That again, one of those guys that had committed to Arkansas and then decommitted, played a little bit of one season at Dallas Baptist and then went the JUCO route. Guy that was all JUCO World Series first team, really good hitting. His defense is probably what would be holding him back, if you ask me. But I'll start with you, Cal. Kind of give me your thoughts on him. But yeah, he was the most outstanding. And ironically, he was the most outstanding defensive player in that tournament. But kind of the things that I've heard is maybe a little bit of knock on his glove.
Yeah, obviously I think he's a really good athlete. I think that it's really hard to say when you're coming from because he got, I don't even know if he got on the field at Dallas Baptist. Maybe he played in 2 or 3 games.
I think he got hurt.
Yeah, he played in 2 games there, so he was pretty much wiped out by an injury really early on in the season.
So how does you wonder how the JUCO numbers translate? I think that's going to probably be the story on him. Does he play it in the ACC level? I mean, that's a huge jump. I think he's obviously very intriguing Dallas Baptist. Maybe a lot of folks listening don't realize, but they're perennial. Yeah. The last decade, it seems like a top 30 program. Yeah. So to even go there at a high school obviously has a lot of upside, but I think that he's going to get an opportunity to play. I'm firmly in the camp that the opportunity to play is at third base. I really, and we'll talk about it some more at short. I think shortstop's done. I think Mikey Ryan is going to play shortstop every day. And I might be wrong about that, but that's what I think. And so I think, we could see a lot of things at third base, right? Might see Barker, might see Johnson, might see Pfeiffer. I mean, I don't know if Johnson can play in the outfield. The outfield's already crowded. Right. I think there's a lot of upside there, but I think his opportunity to play is going to be at third base. And we just talked about how much, we kind of feel like Avent might like Pfeiffer. So I guess that's where I'm at on Sherman Johnson, but definitely a good piece.
Yeah. Mr. Barry?
Yeah, I don't have a ton to add. I mean, you guys talked about a guy coming from JUCO. State's got a good track record with JUCO guys. I mean, that's the one thing I would throw out there. They really do well with them. Obviously, Frazeman's the most recent. Cal, you mentioned, Devin Mitchell coming in this year, probably stuck behind some other guys, but I always viewed it as a Sherman Johnson versus Mikey Ryan battle at short.
I think there's something to be said there.
Yeah. Okay.
I do. I think.
Yeah. I mean, okay. And then, does the loser, again, we talked about, like, you've got somebody breathing down Pfeiffer's neck potentially, which you didn't have last year. And I think that's kind of the important part is third base was a merry-go-round last year. And so was DH. And I think that's one of the things that you don't really expect to see this year. Like, you feel like these positions should be set theoretically. But, you've also really only got one backup infielder. It's these, which of these guys doesn't play? I guess maybe there's probably a freshman on the roster somewhere, but
there is a freshman that we brought in, but
yeah.
But I would a little disagree with you a little bit, like, and we'll get to Bargo. I think Bargo gives you the
Bargo. I always forget about Bargo.
And you have Novi. Novi can play a couple positions on the corner in the infield if absolutely necessary. And we'll talk about the depth here in a little bit, but we'll just keep moving on. All right, we'll go Mikey Ryan now, since we kind of just been dropping little hints here and there. I know how Ethan feels about you too. Yeah, we know how Cal feels.
How I feel about Mikey Ryan. I'm a big Mikey Ryan guy.
Look, you can only be the president of one fan club, okay? You can't have the whole market.
Well, my wife's the president of the Luke Nixon fan club. So.
All right, Mikey Ryan, the transfer from LSU, an LSU team that did win the championship there, but Mr. Ryan basically saw no action last season. Well, I'm sorry, he did pair in 16 games, but then it's a very small sample size, and he only recorded 3 at-bats, so mostly a defensive replacement in those games. For what it was worth, in those 3 at-bats, he hit .333. So basically 1 hit out of his 3 at-bats. High upside guy, was top 75 guy from, again, depending on how much stock he put in, perfect games. He was very highly sought and regarded there.
He was a legitimate draft prospect.
And that's exactly where I was going to go. Right. Yep.
I mean, he was right in that range with Ty Head and Devin Fitzgerald, who was committed to State, who ended up signing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the type of prospect pedigree you're looking at.
Yeah, so it's really hard to really kind of say a lot about him because there's not a lot of tape, if you will. Very limited opportunity at LSU. So you're really going off of a guy that had high pedigree coming out of high school, was obviously signed at LSU. And so you're taking a flyer that the potential will reach the production will reach the potential that he was hyped up after.
Yeah, I just think that he's a guy, if it's not for NIL, the transfer rules that we're in today, like he's in Raleigh because, Monster Milam, Stephen Milam, the shortstop at LSU is maybe I don't know, probably some publications might have him the preseason player of the year. I mean, he's a superstar. And you're leaving a perennial College World Series, national championship program, and you're playing behind Stephen Milam, and you want to play shortstop every day. You got to get out of town, right? And
Yep.
probably 10 years ago, he waits his turn, but you don't do that anymore.
Right.
And so, like, to get a kid like him, I mean, when we signed him, I was super pumped. And I mean, it's hard to put a lot of stock in a guy that's only got 3 at bats, right? But
It is.
Just to come out of that program, top 100 guy coming out of high school, there's just some of the things I've heard in the off season. I think he's a dude. We won't find out, I guess, for a couple more weeks, but I use my pick to start 56 times at shortstop unless he gets hurt. I said that earlier.
Right.
So
yeah, for sure.
So my question.
Anything else you got, Ethan?
Yeah, yep. My question with him, you talked about Milam at short. LSU was a mess at third base. I think they sort of played Michael Braswell there a little bit, who was an all. I mean, to be honest, it was a very similar third base situation at NC State. And so my question is, like, he couldn't get in. Like, he wasn't given an opportunity there. Didn't play at all. Like, certainly shortstop was. We lost Cal.
Yeah, we lost Cal. You already made him mad.
Oh. Sorry, Cal.
Keep going. No, you're good. You're good. We'll get him back.
To the members of the Mike Ryan fan club. But, opportunity there at third base, and he didn't play. And so I guess why? That's
right.
my question. Why not? I don't think he was on their postseason roster either. So, I don't know. I guess that's just kind of my question with him.
That's fair.
There was opportunity at third base and it didn't happen for him. And so, again, maybe that means nothing. Like, maybe he's awesome. And we don't know, we're working with a small, tiny sample size.
Yeah. That's the biggest, right? Is the unknowns. And again, I think that's why you have like a Sherman Johnson and you've got some guys that can kind of, if the experiment, quote unquote, doesn't work, you can then backfill in with somebody that you can make some plays. But again, there's unknowns with Sherman Johnson as well. So we're putting a lot of eggs into a basket that we're hoping that will.
Like, you could go down a lot of roads, right? Yeah. Ethan, I cut out when you were asking your question, which is a great question, by the way. Like, why didn't he play more on the corner at LSU? But I guess, like, worst case, like, if the season's going just absolutely in the hole, you're like, we might get to the point where we have Dalton Bargo at third base and Luke Nixon at shortstop and a freshman at second base. Like, you can go a lot of directions. I get.
Right.
Yeah.
And so let's get into it. Let's get into Dalton Bargo. If you look at his profile page on GoPack on the baseball roster, it says utility, because that's exactly what he is. He's a guy that can play, normally it's an infield or outfield or a pitcher next to their name. He literally has utility. I think he was the last addition to the club, if I'm not mistaken, from a transfer portal perspective.
He was him and Wiggins kind of.
They were pretty close. You're right. Yeah. But I definitely think that this is the cherry on top, if you will, for the transfer portal class. A guy that had a lot of success at Tennessee. We are his third stop. A kid from Omaha, so he would love to finish his career back at the College World Series. But a guy that many thought was going to get drafted in the last draft, or at very least maybe take a free agent contract. But guy, he wants to come back and improve his draft stock. And this dude played 63 games last year, starting 54 in positions. I mean, he played left field, he played third base, I think he played first. I think he caught. I think that's all the 4 positions, if I remember correctly. I might be missing one. But again, he played all over the place at Tennessee. Hit 14 home runs and had 40 RBIs, which is a kind of an interesting number, with 14 home runs only having 40 RBIs. So probably a lot of solo shots. Now, I will say he did play in that little ballpark at Tennessee. That would be my only concern about the 14 home runs. If anyone follows Tennessee baseball, they have one of the smaller ballparks around. So I don't know how his home run breakouts look, but this is a guy that's won a College World Series, so he's a guy that can come in, bring leadership to your team, can play pretty much anywhere on the ball on the diamond if you need him. But yeah, had 17 multi-hit games. So anyway, I'll start with you, Cal. Just kind of give me your thoughts on the pickup of Dalton Bargo and kind of what he can mean to this team moving forward this year.
Well, when you compare 2024 to 2025, like the glaring thing was we did not hit the ball out of the yard near enough. So you go pick up a guy that hit 14 home runs in the SEC. I know Tennessee is a crackerjack box, but obviously, I mean, honestly, the Doak's a very hitter-friendly park as well. So to go pick up a guy that has played in the SEC, who started 54 games at a perennial, nowadays contender, I think he's a huge pickup. And then I didn't, in the beginning when we first picked him up, Lanphier was in the portal. And, Sosa was, obviously, went to Miami, and you start wondering, I mean, I think there's obviously, like, I love Lanphier behind the plate, but, you're like, obviously last year struggled a little bit offensively. Whenever you get a guy that can play that many different positions that, can go up anytime and hit one out of the park. I mean, probably the biggest ad we made, in my opinion. Just because if you get the AMAC Pennington type numbers out of him, I mean, the guy might hit 25 home runs. He's obviously got tons of juice, and a guy I think that Tennessee probably didn't fight to hold on to a little harder because they figured he was going to be in the pros.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think a huge pickup for us, and one that really probably caught a lot of folks by surprise, including myself.
Yeah, 1,000%. Ethan, what do you got for Mr. Bargo?
Yeah, well, it's funny. You mentioned the defense, the first thing, but if it's me and I'm looking at Dalton Bargo, Cal, you mentioned an inability to hit home runs last year, which was weird. In the regional, they did randomly start hitting home runs, but it's the power. It's the power. To me, it doesn't matter what position he plays. Exactly. Need him in the lineup every day, hitting third, hitting fourth, whatever it may be. His overall numbers, like it's a career 108 WRC plus. Which
can you explain that for folks that don't understand that?
Yeah, so WRC is weighted runs created, so basically just creating runs, and then plus just turns it into a percentage basically, where 100 is league average. So 108 is 8% better than league average across D1 baseball, and last year it was 113. So like again, mentioned Wiggins is at like 125 just for reference. And different ways to get there. I think WRC weights on base percentage more than power. But again, none of that stuff matters to me. Like his strikeout rate's a little higher than you'd like it to be, but you need his power. You need it. Like you just didn't have enough power coming back. It doesn't matter. Again, it doesn't matter to me where he plays defensively. You need his pop. And like you said, like if you were to talk about, hey, who can be this year's Alec Makarevich, it's Bargo. I don't think there's any question it's Bargo. He's been a really good player for 3 years in the SEC, and certainly wouldn't be surprised to see Chris Hart work his devil magic and get him to another level.
Yeah, completely agree there.
Yeah, the one thing that doesn't fit, like you said, Ethan, was the amount of strikeouts he has. But when I was looking over his profile, and he hit 8 home runs and 107 at bats the year before at Tennessee. I think the one thing that the name that kind of came to mind to me when I thought about Bargo was Luca Tresh. You got to live with some strikeouts, but the home, just the ability to leave the ballpark makes a big difference, especially after last year struggling to do it so much.
Right. Yeah. And again, I will say, based off of just some of the limited things that we saw from the fall, like Mikey Ryan, like they immediately plugged in and hit home runs in that weight game that was played up here in my neck of the woods. And so if you can start, seeing some of those things, and maybe Andrew Wiggins gets in the lineup and is able to hit some home runs, and you can, get McHugh to hit a few more in the air. This is a team that could definitely, they're not going to lead the ACC by any stretch of the imagination, but if you can get a few more here and there, especially with the guys that we have on this roster that have the ability to get on base at a high percentage, I think you could break some runs out and do some damage. But all right, let's move on. Let's talk let's talk pitching. We'll talk kind of starting pitching real quick, kind of go through that. And then we'll end up with kind of where we think our lineup was going to look like, because I know there's definitely some things there that we kind of have question marks. I kind of want to work in reverse order. Do you automatically assume that Anderson Nance is going to be our closer this year?
Yes,
I do, and I don't. I want him to be in the rotation. So
yeah, I'm sure we'll get to that point. We'll get to that point. All right. Well, since you brought it up, the rotation, we'll definitely start with the weekend rotation. Obviously, it's anchored by Mr. Ryan Marone, left-handed junior, who put up an 8-3 record last year with a 3.38 ERA, over 14 appearances, 85 in a third innings, and 91 strikeouts to 19 walks. Just kind of like, we're not going to talk about. We definitely know that he's a weekend guy, and we definitely know Jacob Duden is going to be another weekend starter, and then we'll talk about that third one because obviously, Cal, you already have some feelings there. But yeah, just kind of give me your thoughts on Ryan Marone coming back here for his junior season and kind of what he's going to do to kind of anchor. And I'm excited. I'm definitely excited about him coming back, obviously. And by all accounts, if Avent does his kind of right, left, or left, right, left, I would assume he's probably going to be the Saturday starter. And maybe Friday goes to Duden, but obviously I don't really care what order they're in. They're my starting pitchers, and I'm good with it. So, Ethan, kind of give me your thoughts on Ryan Marone, and then we'll move over to Jacob Duden.
Yeah, I mean, excellent last year.
Yeah.
Checks every box, throws strikes, misses bats, keeps the ball on the ground. I think everything you're looking for. Not as big of a prospect, I think, as the numbers would tell you, just because the stuff doesn't jump off the page. So I wonder, do you see a step forward there? I think he's kind of like a third, fourth round type of guy right now.
Well, I know his fastball has gotten a little bit faster. I know he's got a few ticks in that. So,
yeah.
I'm sure we'll get some more hitting, or it's going to be swings and misses off of that. But go ahead, please.
Yeah. So, can he work his way up into the first, second round? Which to me, that's kind of where his numbers tell you he should be. And so, are there going to be sexier pitchers in the ACC? Sure. Are there going to be better? Probably not. Like, I don't know. Like the amount of confidence that I had going into a 1-0 game against Auburn last year with Ryan Marone was off the charts. And, unfortunately didn't get there, but feel the same way this year. If you can get to that 1-0 game in a regional with Ryan Marone on the mound, you feel great about it. There's not a single matchup that I'll go into this year. Again, not feeling good. He's going to give you length. He gives you 5-6 innings minimum every time. So yeah, just checks every box. And again, stays healthy. He'll certainly have a big year.
Yeah. Marone was a bulldog in that one game, went all 9 innings. I don't remember who it was again. Cleveland State. Right State?
Central Connecticut State.
Central Connecticut State.
Because you needed Ryan Marone to win that game.
Yeah, okay. I just remember there was a couple of games that he went 7, 8, 9 innings last year, which,
Well, that was the one in the regional.
Gotcha.
You were asking about.
Yeah, I know he went complete game, 7 innings on one because we ruled someone, but I want to say he went 9 in a game. I'll have to go back and look.
It rings a bell. I don't know.
Yeah, but again, that's kind of unheard of in today's age, a pitcher going 9 innings. Especially in college. But Cal, I know you're a fan of Mr. Marone. Kind of give me your thoughts on what your expectations for this year from him.
Yeah, I mean, he's the guy that, to me, if you got to go win one game, you give the ball to Marone. I mean, there's obviously, like Ethan said, there's sexier guys, but if it comes down to like we got to get in the bunker and I got to kick your ass or you're going to kick my ass, I'm picking Ryan Marone every time.
Yeah.
I mean, and you said, there's a couple times he went 7, 8, 9. He's like the guy that if you're like, hey, you got to go 9 today, he's going to go 9. He might give up 8 runs. He's going to go 9. He's just a tough kid. He throws strikes too. And that's why, you talk left, right, left. I like Ryan on Friday because he really protects the bullpen.
Yeah.
And I like Duden a lot, obviously too, but like Ryan's not going to walk guys. I think you said 19 walks and 90. Yeah. Like, because he doesn't walk guys, he keeps his pitch count down. He usually goes deep in games. Even when he doesn't have his best stuff and he gets knocked around a little bit, it happens to all of them. But when he gets knocked around a little bit, he still finds a way to go 6-7 innings a lot of times. And he's just a tough. I love strike throwers. I know you've probably heard that on our show. I just love guys that pound the zone. He pounds the zone. He's got pitch ability. The changeup is, when it's on, it's just unhittable. I think we're gonna ride him pretty hard this year, and he's probably a guy I think.
Yeah, he's gonna be our sea biscuit for sure.
He's gonna throw 100 innings, and but I think he's also just his demeanor. When you look at him on the mound, he's like the guy that he wants to throw 100 innings. He's not. He's not thinking about tomorrow. He's like, give me the ball and let's go. And I think he's everything you look for in an ACC ace. And like Ethan said, there's the guys out there that throw 98 and throw wipeout sliders, but they also might walk 7 guys a night per 9, and those are the guys that frustrate me.
Yeah, Marone had so many good moments last year, but in a lighthearted moment, and I'm gonna forget the kid's name from Clemson,
Canarella.
Yeah, Canarella. Thank you. I should have known that one. When he told him to get the hell out of there, like after he struck him out in a in a big leverage moment, I thought, like that's a killer mentality right there. And you don't always see a lot of reaction from Marone. Like he'll stare you down, but he's got that killer instinct, and that's what you want from someone on the mound. And our next guy here also kind of has that same mentality as well. And we'll talk about from a starting perspective. I will say this much, that I'm glad that I won't have to hear Ethan talk about how little innings that Jacob Duden's getting this year, because he's going to be a starting pitcher. A guy that went 2-2 last year with a 3.90 ERA, 5 saves, only over 22 appearances, and the killer for Ethan, only 30 innings pitched, but with 41 strikeouts and 17 walks. Again, this is the biggest unknown from a starting perspective, not because of stuff, but just we haven't seen him do it right. I think that's the unknown. But Jacob Duden is a guy that has electric stuff. That I think is in store for big things this year. And again, whether he goes Friday or Saturday, I honestly don't care. I'm just thankful that he's on my team and we don't have to face him on a multiple basis. But Ethan, I'll let you start with your thoughts on Mr. Duden.
Yeah, I mean, a year too late getting to the rotation, but it's okay. I'll leave it.
No arguments here.
Yeah, I mean, what more can you say about what he's done for you the last 2 years? And I really I hated that it seemed like State abandoned him early last year. We talked about it. Mm-hmm. If it's one bad appearance, you're gone. And I kind of happened to do it for a while and eventually got back into it. Maybe some things were maybe battling injury, mechanics, whatever it may be. And then he got back to it and was as dominant as ever down the stretch. I don't have a ton of questions. I mean, look, like you're always going to wonder how somebody translates to the bullpen, but at least to me, statistically, he checks the boxes. You'd like him to throw a few more strikes. I think it was a 12% walk rate last year. That's high, but it's not like crazy high. So,
right.
If you can get that down, it would be nice. But again, ability to miss bats, 30% strikeout rate, with that slider.
Yeah. And let me jump, 41-17, but also I felt like the coaching staff just made him throw that damn slider every bit way and didn't trust his fastball for whatever reason, which he has a great fastball.
So I don't know. I don't know if you guys have the numbers on his fastball. I think the fastball actually plays down from his velocity with the vertical movement. I know they put the numbers up. Was it 2 falls ago? They put the numbers up on the scoreboard, and his fastball, at least on that day, the ride, it plays down. So I think that's part of the problem with the fastball. I think they said he's working on a sinker this year.
Yeah.
But I mean, either way, it doesn't, to me, it doesn't matter. It's still a good fastball.
Sure.
It's not obviously 98, 99, obviously. So
yeah, but you don't need it when you have stuff that moves.
Right. And so to me, the difference going, as a reliever, it's just, you're only going 2 innings, maybe 3, where it's just you can
Right.
strike 8. Boone can strike 7 or 8 guys out, and it'll be fine. Nothing else would matter. So, and he could throw a slider to do that. As a starter, a little different. I know some people have talked about, hey, will he have a third pitch? You look at what's happened in the big leagues. Like, guys don't worry as much about a third pitch. Go after him with your 2 best pitches and throw strikes,
Yeah.
and it'll work. That's what Carlos Rodon did to revive his career with the Giants, I believe, before going to the Yankees. Similar type of thing with Duden. Like, yeah, sinker, changeup, whatever. Those pitches would be nice, but if all you need is your slider and a fastball to get out, that's fine. So, again, keeps the ball on the ground, misses bats. That's what you're looking for. And so, to me, the question: can you get that walk rate down a little bit? And if he can, I think he'll have a big year. We talked about Marone going 7-8 innings. I don't see Duden as that kind of guy. I think he's probably more of a 5, 6, maybe even 4.
Yeah, maybe
outings.
initially get him stretched out.
Yeah.
And I know he did start in the
Yeah.
summer league and did really well up
Yeah.
on the Cape. So yeah.
Yeah, I just don't view him as like a workhorse type of guy. Like, I view him as like, all right, get through the lineup twice, maybe a third time if you're really feeling it,
Yeah.
and hand it to the bullpen. But again, we'll kind of see how he develops. And a guy who, to me too, you talk about draft prospects, like, got a lot on the line. I think with his stuff, and if he shows he can start, could certainly end up being a first round type of talent.
Well, and he needed to go to start just to. And Cal, I'm sorry, we'll
Oh,
bring
yeah.
you in. We're talking. But yeah, he definitely needed that for his draft stock. You don't see a lot of relievers getting a lot of love in drafts. But Cal, kind of give me your thoughts on Jacob. Excuse me.
I really love dude. I love his presence on the mound. I love his energy. I think that the question is, like, to me, to be a weekend guy, like, or to pound the zone with the fastball. Now, obviously, his bread and butter is the slider, but he can't. If he goes out in an 80 pitch appearance, he can't throw it 60 times. Like, if you try to convert that, from what he was doing, he came out of the pen a couple of times and threw 24 sliders and 25. Like, they can't do that as a starter. But he's also a guy, I think, like. And I know they've obviously worked really hard at extending. They've worked really hard on the fastball, sinker. He's a guy that, to me, has first team All-American upside if he can command the fastball, because the slider's so good. But the problem, and we talked about this some last year, is if you get behind in counts, the slider's not nearly as good. But if you can get ahead in the count, where now you got to. Am I looking for 99, or am I looking for a slider that's going to fall off the face of the earth? Like, then you're really hard to hit. Yeah. So the fastball doesn't have to be an out pitch, but you got to be able to locate it. You got to be able to get ahead of guys with it. Yeah. You got to be able to throw it any count. Where,
get some quick outs.
Yeah, like where you go look, especially his freshman year, 3-2 with bases loaded. What do you think he's throwing? I'm probably still going to get a slider. Like, he was so confident in the slider. You're like, yeah, full count, bases loaded. He's still throwing a slider. Yeah.
And they're still swinging and missing.
Yeah. I mean, it absolutely electric. Yeah. But who was the kid last year, the ace for Clemson?
Knapp.
Yeah, we had
Knapp, however you say it.
Yeah, we had like a absolute Hart had just a hell of a game plan, and we just lit him up.
Yeah.
And to me, that's what happens with a weekend guy. If you allow him to look for one pitch. I think with Knapp, is it the changeup that was it changeup?
Yeah.
I think he loaded the changeup.
Yeah.
We found out early, we're going to hit changeup. We sat on changeup. So, Duden's got to be able to throw. He's got to be, to Ethan's point, doesn't got to be 3 pitches. He's got a 99-mile-an-hour fastball and a slider that's as good as any in college baseball. But the fastball does have to play, and that'll be the story. And I do think he's got All-American upside. So, I'm really excited about throwing him more than 30 innings, Ethan.
Just absolute malpractice. I don't understand it. I don't understand it.
Yeah. All right. So I want to kind of move us along. I know we've kind of been going long, and if you guys are good, I'm good. But starter number 3. I think this is the kind of the wild card, if you will, of how this staff is going to look. By all, at least alluding to it in his preseason interviews. Coach Avon has said that it sounded like Heath Andrews was at least going to be part of the weekend rotation. Now, again, we don't know the order of these guys, but it sounded like Andrews is going to be the guy, and I think for a lot of State fans that might give them pause. A guy that has good stuff when he's on, and again, that's pretty low hanging fruit of a statement, but a guy that went 4-3, 6.16 ERA, with 14 appearances. He started all of his games, and then 64 and a third, which again, a big drop off. 20 less innings in the same amount of appearances as Marone, and a guy that was only had 53 strikeouts but 22 walks, and those last numbers are a little concerning. So, Cal, it sounded like you were on Team Nance there, maybe for the third starting position, but kind of just give me, and we can kind of bring in Nance as part of this conversation as well.
Yeah, so our staff loves Heath Andrews. I mean, there's no question. There's something like metrics wise, there's something that they really, really like outside
Absolutely.
the numbers. They're looking at something aside from the numbers. Obviously, Heath is, he's been really good in good games. I think last year in I think it was the Clemson series.
Clemson, yeah.
Really, really good. So he obviously has the stuff. I think we talked about Cooper Consiglio early. I kind of feel like he was a guy that kind of got buried last year after a few bad outings. That was just, you talk about having an appearance against, his freshman outing versus Clemson was unbelievable. So, between Andrews, Consiglio, and Nance, I think obviously Andrews is the leader in the clubhouse to be the number 3 starter. I just think when you look at like a guy like Anderson Nance, if you look at his numbers, and I don't have them in front of me, but last year as a freshman, like his ability to just absolutely pound the zone and get guys out. To me this year, I was like, I don't know what the game plan is, but Anderson Nance has to be. I wanted Anderson Nance in the rotation in the middle of last year, so I also understand you got to have a bullpen too. So
let me pause you. Yeah, let me pause you real quick, and this will bring some perspective in looking at Nance's numbers. Nance was 8-2, definitely the beneficiary of some good spots there where he picked up a lot of wins where he came in and we either tied or down one, and we pulled a lot of games out for him. But a 3.50 ERA, 1 save, which is only wild to believe he only had 1 save. But 18 appearances. Started 1 game and pitched 54 innings. So he pitched 10 less innings. So almost comparable to what Heath Andrews pitched, very closely. And he was 53 strikeouts, only 11 walks. Like, again, just raw numbers, not digging into them. On the surface numbers, it looks like Anderson Nance should be your third starter.
Yeah.
Ethan?
Yeah, no. So the Heath Andrews thing, he's got good stuff. We know that.
He does.
You talked about that, Cal. He was a draft guy last year. And to me, when you were looking at building this year's roster, Greg, I know you and I talked a little bit about it.
Yep. Didn't
really expect Heath Andrews back as a draft eligible sophomore.
It reminded me of Fritton.
Yes. Perfect.
Yeah. And similar sophomore years where it was like, okay, the talent's there, but the numbers weren't as strong. Fritton had a better freshman year than Andrews did.
Yes.
But so the Heath Andrews number that you like is the ground ball rate. It's a very, very strong ground ball rate. Led the team last year at 48%.
He had some bad luck last year too.
He did have some bad luck. There's no doubt.
Yeah.
But you mentioned the strikeout numbers, and it was lowest on the team at 18%. Van Dam and Wilson were lower than him in a couple innings. But when you don't strike guys out, you're going to have bad luck. Sometimes it's going to be good luck. Sometimes it's going to be bad luck. And so to me, Heath Andrews is a perfect midweek guy, just perfect. Going to pitch to contact, and against lesser teams, it plays, it's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But against ACC teams, I really thought the inability to miss bats just kind of stood out. And it's just, again, you're always hoping for somebody to hit it at a defender.
Right.
Sometimes they'd hit it to a double play. Sometimes it'd be a bloop double. It just
Texas leaguer. Yeah.
Right. And so that's just kind of what happens when you're unable to miss bats. So we'll see. I hope they have a shorter leash with him this year. You've got other options. Consiglio, Cal, I'm with you. Nance would be my pick. I do think they're kind of overvaluing, having a quote unquote star closer, reliever, whatever you want to call it. I would put Nance in the rotation and worry about the bullpen later. That's the way I would approach it. But, clearly, again, and Andrews may put together a really good year. Like we talked about Clemson game. He was awesome. Struck out 9 guys. I think it was 6 innings, 1 run, maybe 2 runs. He was awesome. But it was few and far between last year.
Yeah, Andrews.
The 13 home runs is really like jumps off the page too.
Yeah, because
when you don't strike guys out and you're letting them put in play, and you're kind of a little bit prone to the home run.
Well, and for me, like, again, I give it the Fritten comparison because I think there's a lot of things there. Like it always felt like Andrews was running really deep into counts, and that because again, to your point, Ethan, not having to put away stuff, and guys just battle. And then they just kind of put it in play and something happens. Right. And so for me, and I could say the same about Coop. Like I felt like the staff kind of hung both Andrews and Coop out to dry a couple of times where he gets you through the lineup once and then you let him hang around for another, third, fourth inning. And now they've timed him up and now, all hell's broke loose, if you will.
It always feels like they're reactive to pull guys and not proactive. Yeah. And you mentioned with Consiglio, thought that happened last year.
Yeah,
it happened a couple of times in the postseason with Nance. I'm trying to remember the specific situations where it would be like, all right, you got exactly what you needed from this pitcher in this spot.
And well, Coop was one of those for sure.
Cooper, 100%. Yeah. And then they would send him back out there, and then I would all go. I think one of it was maybe the Stanford game.
Mm-hmm.
Was it where they pulled Andrews early, went to Consiglio, they got like 2 or 3 innings.
Yeah,
and it was like, oh, perfect, you got Duden and Schaffner to take you home.
Yeah,
and they stuck with Consiglio, and that was that.
Yeah, and then you don't win the regular season title because of it.
And I think I want to say Clemson too in the ACC tournament. They left Nance out there. You got through 3 innings, then he started to give up some loud contact, gets through another inning, and it's like, pull this guy, pull him, please.
Yep.
Yeah, we've caught a couple in the warning track. We think he's done.
Yeah. And you've got other guys. Like it's not like, okay, this is the end of the rope. This is it. No, you've got Duden waiting. You've got Schaffner waiting. And it didn't happen. You lost those 2 games.
So just for the sake of time, is there any other pitchers you guys really want to kind of talk about? I think we've hit a lot of them. There's some. I know you're a Paisan guy, Ethan. That
Paisel,
Paisel. Yeah. Sorry, I don't want to say Paisan. I'm thinking Italian.
Yeah, did some interesting stuff at UNCG a couple years ago. Got hurt. Yeah. He was an ACL this past year.
Yeah,
a guy. Potential guy to work into the rotation, maybe. Really good stuff. Had some good numbers at UNCG. We'll factor in somehow. I think Ware probably out of the bullpen to start, but. Kind of another name who's just kind of down the list, and it's like, hey, I don't feel that bad about this guy.
Yeah, another name like a guy that you got some nice stuff out, especially being a left-handed pitcher was Tristan Potts. I think he's a guy that's gonna do some really good things in the bullpen for us this year. Again, I'm just kind of throwing out a few things here.
Landon Carr. Landon Carr was a JUCO guy. I want to say he had 2 years ago. Yeah. Had Tommy John. They kind of implied that it was, I think Fit wrote it, that it was like late in the season or something. So I don't know what his availability looks like, but I think probably a guy that when you originally landed him, like you expected him to be a reliever, a potential leverage guy for you. So we'll see how he factors in. Yeah.
And then another one, redshirt freshman, Caden Morris, another guy coming off Tommy John. What jumps off the page for me is he's 6'8", 220 pounds, like just a monster on the mound. So if you get anything from him, that would be pretty cool. He's another local kid that was played at Pro 5. We got some guys there that
State does well with those guys.
And that's exactly what I was getting ready to say. In fact, we got Eli's brother Christian on the team this year, he's an interesting prospect for me too. I don't know if we're going to expect anything out of him, but just definitely a guy that can to do some things for you. But all right, real quick,
Greg, one more. True Manuel.
Another that's guy, a good name.
Tommy John last year. I think to me, out of all these guys that we've named, kind of here at the end, Manuel to me is the guy that I think he could end up being a guy.
Yeah. So where we're going with this is State has a lot of options, right? So if you get into injury issues, if you get guys that are just struggling to throw strikes, there's another next man up type deal here. So it's for me, it's just about carving out roles at this point. You got a lot of talent. It's just trying to put it all together and figure out, okay, where does it fit in the puzzle? Real quick, kind of just we'll talk about a starting lineup. We'll go around the diamond and kind of hit these out real quick. Not really go into a lot of depth because a lot of these guys are returning, and you kind of, if you follow the Pac-9, you kind of know what you're getting. I really wanted to focus on some of the newer guys, and then the starting pitching. But first base, who do we think is going to play first?
Chris McHugh.
Yeah, I think I know McHugh wanted to play on the outfield, and I know Avent has mentioned it in left field, but I just don't see a path for him to play on the outfield with as crowded as it is. Ethan, you feel the same?
Yeah. I mean, the only thing, again, where it kind of reminds me of Gino Groover a couple years ago, where it's like the bat really plays.
Yeah.
And from a pro perspective, like, can you get him another position? I think that's kind of it. And,
right.
That helps your profile so much. It's tough being a first base guy, when that time comes. But, yeah, I think it's a no-brainer. He's at first base.
Are we in agreement that your starting second baseman is Luke Nixon?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I would assume that it would be him as well. All right, so now we get to the left side of the infield, and I think this is where we're going to get a little debate here. Are we saying it's going to be Mikey Ryan or Sherman Johnson, or at least how about we talk about day one? I'm not talking about the when we roll out a lineup in Puerto Rico here in 2 weeks, who's the starter at short?
I think it's Ryan's to lose.
Not who you want it to be, but who you think it will be.
I think it's Ryan's job to lose.
Yeah. And I think too, again, like we're going off of limited info here. Like,
sure,
if Ryan's glove is that good, it doesn't really matter what he hits. Like, you need a glove at short.
Yeah.
And to me, that's kind of where I lean towards him over Sherman Johnson. I think Johnson's glove's more of a question.
Yeah.
And to me, if Mikey Ryan can defend at a very, very high level, he can play regardless of struggling to hit.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do think it'll be Ryan early. I do think you see some. I think you'll see Sherman Johnson get some starts here and there.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that kind of a little bit when we get to the schedule, because I know you're a big fan of the schedule, Ethan. No. Third base, who do we think it's Pfeiffer to begin with? Yeah.
I think that in Puerto Rico we'll see two different people start at third base.
Right, because you kind of did see that last year, right, Cal,
Yep.
down in Jacksonville.
I think we'll see Pfeiffer and Johnson at third base in Puerto Rico, and I wouldn't even be surprised if they both go out and lay it. I wouldn't be surprised to see Novi get a start in Puerto Rico.
That worries me a little bit, and I love Novi's bat, but he seems to be a defensive liability for me, just because of the range. All right, left field. Again, a lot of competition there, but I think it's Mr. Everett Johnson, just based off of all of the things that has been said. Are we in agreement there?
It's a no-brainer. At least based off how they're talking.
Yeah, agreed. I think it's a no-brainer that Tyhead is your center fielder, so I don't think we even need to entertain that. For me, the most interesting thing, and again, if you've listened to Coach Avent's press conferences, he's been really high on Fraisman's bat in the fall and then coming into the spring here. Are we pretty much in agreement that it's going to be him in right field, or is there someone out there? I know Ethan maybe feels maybe Wiggins could play out in right.
Yeah.
What are you thinking there?
I don't, we haven't talked Fraisman at all. I don't think Fraisman's job should just be on lock. Like I
agree.
It was
a struggle bus after that Clemson series.
Yeah, and it was the 330 on base last year. Like, that's not like, it's okay.
It's fine.
Yeah, a 92 WRC plus, like a below league average bat. And in conference play, you're looking at an 89 WRC plus, an 811 OPS. Like, I wouldn't. Yes, I think Fraisman will start on opening day. Didn't expect him back either, to be honest. I thought this was a guy who would go in the draft. But the strikeouts, I think, get you at times. I don't think it's enough defensively to just be like, yes, this guy has to be out there. Doesn't really walk. So yeah, if he's taking a step forward and he's one of your best power, bats, then sure. But I don't necessarily think it should just be like we talked about Nixon and Head and McHugh. Like, to me, Fraseman is not in that category.
Agreed.
Yeah, I think that Fraseman, like what part of how much he plays or doesn't play, and right now my expectation too as he starts is that is he hitting the ball out of the yard and how much do we need that? Because he's a guy that could hit 10 to 15 home runs, and if we are, I don't think we expect 10 home runs out of Rhett Johnson. I think we've kind of already said that Wiggins isn't a guy that's going to hit 10 to 12 home runs, or even though he does have the exit velos to do it. So if you really need the juice, like we do know that Fraser was a guy that if you play him every day, he's gonna give you some of that. He got a great arm in the outfield, but I think that in Puerto Rico we're going to see 5 different guys. I said 2 different guys at third base. I think we're going to see 5 different guys play in the outfield.
Yeah, you're definitely going to see some mixing and matching for sure.
Do you guys remember Dom Palali?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
great year, not great, but a good year 1.
Didn't see him the next year.
Year 2, he didn't play.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe a similar type of situation. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, a guy that you could see here is like maybe a Devin Mitchell, right? Like apparently he can hit the ball like nobody's business.
Yeah.
And from what I understand, he has an above average arm out in the outfield, and that's something that we've struggled too with throwing guys out from the outfield over the last couple of years, and that's somewhat something that I would like to see definitely improved on this team. All right, so we're gonna start at catcher. I think and we haven't really talked about this position, but I think it's definitely a position that's got some question marks. Drew Lamphere did come back after he had entered the portal. Obviously, you lost Sosa to Miami. You have a guy in Preston Bond who, seems like he's a pretty good, potentially good prospect, but doesn't have I don't think he had. Did he have any at bats last year? Maybe
no,
1 or 2.
I don't think.
I think he completely redshirted.
Yeah, I think so.
So you've not seen him play. I do like Lamphere's upside on defensively. I think that's an upgrade over Sosa there. Offensively, it's definitely not. He only hit the 1 home run now. It was a big home run that Lamphere hit last year, got us back in the UVA game. But I feel like he's a little bit light hitting. But again, it's tough, right? Because State has had such a pedigree at catcher, over the last 10, 15 years, and, both offensively and defensively. And I think that is a position where we look for, good upside offensive numbers. And I'm just not sure if we're going to necessarily get that. Now, Avent, and again, I'm kind of long-winded on this, but Avent has sung Lamphere's praise about hitting. Again, the proof will be in the pudding. But I guess, Ethan, kind of give me your thoughts on what the catching position looks like, right? Because, again, you have Lamphere, you have Bond. We said DeCarlo's most likely going to red shirt. And then, dare I say, throw in Dalton Bargo there.
Yeah, I think, you bring up Sosa. To me, State had to upgrade defensively. Like, Sosa just, for your pitching staff, just wasn't good enough defensively. And what he gave you at the bat, you're not going to replace it. Like, he was a very, very good hitting catcher. But defensively, I think he really he hurt you. And so I certainly think you're looking to upgrade there on that side. And then I think whatever you get with the bat is a bonus. Look, if Bargo can catch, Bargo's catching.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any debate. We just went through our lineup. We didn't have anywhere for Bargo, so maybe I assume he's DH. You still have Wiggins. We didn't have Sherman Johnson, Devin Mitchell, those guys in. If Bargo can catch, you put him, he catches.
No brainer.
I don't think that's a realistic ask of him. He's barely caught the last 3 years. And I think
well, he did get recruited as a catcher, so I will say that much.
Yeah. So
again, I know. We're pulling here.
We are.
But D1, yeah.
I think you're looking for more defensively. I actually don't mind Lamphere's bat. Like I think he's got good exit velocities. He'll walk. He doesn't strike out a ton. I mean, last year he had a 20% walk rate and a 12% strikeout rate. He had a 243 BABIP, which is batting average on balls in play, which is crazy low. So.
Look, and he didn't get a lot of opportunity to get into a rhythm, right? And baseball's such a rhythm sport.
Right. Like, and not that I think Lanfear's come in here and gonna be all conference or anything like that, but I think he'll be fine.
Yeah.
And if he holds up
Serviceable.
defensively, that's all you need. So,
Yeah.
But again, if Vargo can catch, Vargo should catch. I mean, that's
Yeah.
how you get your best 9 bats in the lineup.
Cal, is that how you kind of feel there?
I think the thing about the catching position is that it's probably the only position on the entire field that can be decided by those 3 guys you're going to start Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, if Ryan Marone or Jacob Duden say, I really feel comfortable when Drew Lanfear's behind the plate, he's going to catch.
Yeah.
And
you got personal catchers. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's
the thing.
It's the only position on the field. And I think he probably has he's probably very comfortable with our staff. So, and you remember last year, probably when I had Brandon Butterworth on and AMAC, they say he's the hardest working guy on the team. Obviously, he's an event guy. That's what he loves those guys. So, I think Lanfear's going to get every opportunity to catch, but also it's not very realistic for a guy to catch 56 games either. So,
well, you'd be surprised. I mean, we love to run our catchers into the ground.
I'm just very interested to see if Lanfear can't catch 56 games, which I don't anticipate he'll do that.
Right.
Is it Vargo? Because Vargo's going to play, right? Whether we stick him at first base, third base, DH.
DH, yeah, something.
So do we? Yeah, I mean, I think he's going to probably be slated in as a starting DH to go into week 1. But if Lanfear, were to get hurt, then I think that's the question.
Right.
Who's your catcher then? Is it Vargo? Right. Is it Bond?
I would assume it would be Bond, but again, that's an assumption. He's a legit catcher, and but again, he's got no game experience. So there's again, to that point, like what happens, and I think that is the one position that we're the most fragile at, if you will, because there's so many unknowns past your starter.
Well, last year we're like, well, man, if Sosa gets hurt, gosh, we really lose a lot of juice. But hell, we're probably better behind the plate. That's probably not the case this year. So.
Right.
I'm really surprised State didn't bring in a 4th, 5th year catcher who's caught 150 games in his career. Yeah. Don't care if he can hit, just can you catch and throw? I'm surprised they didn't land a guy like that.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm not really going to get into the DH position because someone's going to slot into that and have a lot of talent. And that I feel like that's going to be a revolving door. What's that?
Based off our lineup that we just put together, it's Vargo.
Yeah, for sure. Agreed. All right, I'm going to spend like 5 minutes and talk about the schedule and then kind of talk predictions. It's interesting. After Puerto Rico, we have 18 straight games at the Doak. It's crazy. Like not even a midweek game in there away. It's like a UNCG or a Campbell. So that'll be fun. At least unless I missed something, but I thought I counted it right.
I mean, the next road game I have is UNCW on March 17th.
Yeah, that's a month. Yeah, and then you go right to Florida State right after that, I think.
Yeah.
No, right before that. Oh, yeah, no, April 4th. Excuse me, I have my schedule here. Yeah, but so the schedule, like out of conference, you have your typical. You got your 2 against ECU. I think we only have 1 against Coastal this year. It's not like, we're not facing the 27, 28 Yankees on any of those midweek games for the most part. So a very doable schedule there. Kind of got the ACC schedule in front of me. And these are just based off D1 rankings. So like take it for what you will. We have out of the 10 series, we have 5 series against the top 10 and then 5 series against 10 or worse. So, pretty favorable. We do have FSU, Georgia Tech, and Carolina will probably be the 3 most difficult schedule series. But again, I think it's for an ACC schedule, I think it's pretty good. I feel like Georgia Tech is overranked a little bit. And again, I won't, this isn't an ACC podcast, but I think they're maybe a little touch high. I don't trust their pitching. FSU is getting a lot of love. Maybe Link has finally got it all figured out after his, I think this is like year 4 for him down there. Some interesting games. We'll have some former players coming back. Obviously, Miami will be coming back to town, so Sosa will be coming back. You'll have Jake Bechtel coming back with Wilmington, and you'll have Jackson Lucas coming back with Liberty. So you'll have a few guys that'll kind of make their returns back to the Doak. But kind of just give me your thoughts on the schedule. Like, favorable, not favorable. Kind of like I feel like we're gonna have to make a lot of noise in the ACC because there's like if you lose some of these non-conference games, it's gonna really wreck your net and your RPI and all that stuff and your ability to host. Ethan, I'll start with you.
Yeah, the non-conference slate's terrible. It's awful. I mean, I don't understand it. Washington, Indiana State, and Puerto Rico. I think those are two good teams. You've got Coastal in the midweek. ECU, we know they'll be solid. UNCW, Campbell. But
we need ECU, not last year's ECU, because last year
Right,
ECU
yeah.
hurt us. Like they weren't as good as we
Yeah.
thought they were going to be.
Yeah, those games.
They were actually as good as we thought they were going to be, but not until they were already in the postseason.
Yes,
Right.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Good point.
So yeah, I mean, State. I mean, you mentioned that 18-game stretch. I mean, only one of those games is interesting to me. Coastal. I mean, the rest of them, State will probably lose one of them.
It'll be a head scratcher.
That's how baseball goes. Yeah, but the ACC slate. I mean, look, the non-conference slate is going to put you behind the 8 ball in regards to RPI and hosting. So can you make it up in the ACC play? I mean, we saw last year State goes 17-11 in the ACC. You're one game away from winning the ACC regular season, and you weren't even that close to hosting. I think that kind of tells you what they do with their non-conference slate. So yeah, they're gonna have to do work. I think the exciting part is there's a lot of good road series there. Florida State, Wake Forest, Georgia Tech. Yeah, you mentioned those. You go out there and win a couple of those series, that'll help yourself, in terms of hosting. So the ACC slate, you get Boston College at home early. That should be favorable theoretically. Duke should be a step down, you would think, without Pollard this year. They lost a lot of their roster. So
I think they'll be a lot less. Virginia Tech, that's it.
Yeah,
even without it being a road series. But again, it's not a difficult. And you go out west to play Stanford, and they're not the typical Stanford teams that we're used to in the last 5 to 7 years. They're very down. But
they were better last year.
They were
2 years ago. They were bad. Last year they took a step forward. We know from the end of the season.
They did beat us.
Yeah, so I wouldn't be surprised if Stanford ends up being like a tournament team.
Yeah, they're fringe, but yeah. Cal, kind of give me your thoughts real quick on the schedule.
You never have to sweep a series, but I feel like you really, really need to get. I think you need to sweep Boston College, because then I think you go on the road to Florida State and Georgia Tech 2 weeks in a row, and you're like, you want to be at through 9 games, you're hoping you're at least 5-4, right?
Yeah.
Well, if you only get 2 against Boston College, it can get a little dicey. I mean, it's gonna be hard to go on the road and win a series at Florida State. Georgia Tech, I'm with you on that, Greg. I don't know that I'm 100% all in on how well they're going to throw the ball.
I mean, arguably they probably the favorite for the national player of the year. But other than that, I don't know what they have pitching.
Yeah, Burris is pretty special, but you still got to get guys out. So Georgia Tech, I mean, they're obviously to go to Tallahassee and Georgia Tech back-to-back weekends. I think that is interesting.
Yeah.
To Ethan's point, I think that going into ACC play, you're really going to be disappointed if you're any worse than if you've lost more than 3 times, you're probably going to be like, we don't know what we have. Yeah. So I think same with Duke. You expect them to take a step back with Pollard at Wake Forest.
It's always a tough place to play.
Yeah, and you expect them to be good. And then the one thing I like Miami at home. The one thing I don't like is that we go on the road to Stanford and then open the Carolina series on a Thursday.
Yeah, that's
probably way overhyped with 20-year-old kids, but you're gonna you're gonna get back at midnight on a Sunday night and then play on Thursday. So
Greg, can you offer up your private jet for them on that?
I'll work on that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the crappy thing too, right? Is they're at the mercy of commercial travel, and they're gonna get in real late.
I mean, there's got to be a chance that somebody gives them a private one for that week, right? I mean, they got to be back.
You would think. I mean, my guess is that's probably going to be a noon game local. I
At
mean,
Stanford?
I
Yeah.
can't.
It's
I haven't seen.
105 first pitch in Stanford.
Ugh, that's awful. That's freaking awful. And again, I know it's only an hour, but it's everything when you got to fly across the country at a 5.5, 6 hour flight.
Didn't
That
ACC say we're not ending games early this year too?
I,
Didn't we decide that after
Did
the
they?
Pittsburgh?
Oh man, I hope
yeah,
so.
I thought they decided that, but I might be wrong.
no, that's big if that's the case. Well, if that's the case, then if they're not ending games early, then you might have to have a private charter, like,
Yeah.
because yeah, we'll see how that works out, but yeah, that's an interesting aspect that Stanford into UNC. I will say the last thing about the schedule is you get both Duke and UNC at home, which is always nice to have them come to your house. I do love UNC as the last series of the regular season. I know Stanford was the last one there, but there could be a lot on the line for seeding purposes come that last series. And we one thing about the schedule is I know we have like a Tuesday, Wednesday, and then a weekend series in there somewhere that I saw.
It's
Which was
early, I think.
yeah. Which shouldn't be that big of a deal, but it's just an interesting thing. All right, last thing, and we're gonna wrap this up. We've been going long, guys, and I definitely appreciate you hanging around. And I know you have lives, but prediction and again, take them with a grain of salt. There's a lot of unknowns that are going to be approaching us over the next 2 or 3 months. But based off this talent in the schedule, what's I don't need a record per se, but like kind of give me where you think State's going to fall in the pecking order of the ACC.
It seems like they're always in the same spot. I don't know if you guys have ever talked to Andrew Sanders. I asked him one time, what are your thoughts on the baseball team? It was a few years ago. And he was like, yeah, I just roll up. I know they'll be good.
Yeah.
I just show up the first day of the season. It's kind of how I feel. I mean, I think State's
Yeah.
got a really good roster. I'm a little surprised their high-end talent is not more highly regarded. It is in my head than it is. Than it
didn't get a lot of love.
Publications. Yeah, with
didn't
the
get a lot of
draft
love
and
there.
stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I mean, I think this is a team that, we saw them compete to win the ACC last year, and then they acted like it wasn't that big of a deal to them, which
talk for another day.
Only because they lost, but
yeah,
I same spot, like fourth, fifth, kind of in that range,
yeah.
And if it kind of falls to you late, like it did last year, then you've got a shot at it.
Yeah,
I wouldn't suspect they'll be the best team in the league, but that fourth, fifth spot kind of on the fringe of hosting for most of the year. So I don't know, what is that, 17 ACC wins, something like that.
Yeah.
And then a 2 seed in some regional. That's
feels
like a pretty safe bet.
For comparison, we were 17-11 last year, and I think we ended up third. I think because of the tiebreakers
in the league.
Yeah, I think it was like second or third.
Yeah,
but we had a chance to, if you win one more game, I think you end up being the number one seed. And again, with the ACC tournament the way it is, and there's no longer the pods, and I'm okay with that. Getting some double buys would definitely be nice from a pitching perspective. So you've got your arms ready to go in the ACC tournament. And again, it's just one of those kind of free for alls. And does that mean they're the best team in the league? No, but they get the automatic, seat or the automatic bid, and that's always nice. So, Cal, kind of give me your thoughts of where you think this team is going to end up in the ACC when it's all said and done.
I think that we're going to be going into the Stanford Carolina series still with a shot to host. I think that is the goal, is to host.
Yeah.
I think we have 5 arms in Marone, Duden, Andrews, Consiglio, Nance that would start for at least half the teams in the ACC, which is pretty impressive to have 5 guys in your arsenal that can do that. Mm-hmm. I think that when you look at us offensively, I think, finding the lineup and how long it takes to do that. I think if you see a lot of searching early in the year, I think it's obviously good to, give a lot of guys opportunity. But I think if you look at the really good NC State teams, Avent is kind of locked into a lineup. And I think that it's going to be a good sign if we do that. Like, I don't want us to have played 3 different guys at shortstop through 20 games. I don't think that's ideal. I don't think that we want to have a revolving door at third base or still haven't figured out who's going to catch. But in my mind, I think that with the talent that we have on the roster, I think the biggest question mark is the bullpen. Not because I don't think we have guys to perform out of the bullpen, but what does it look like based off who our rotation is? So to me, the biggest question mark is the bullpen. And I really believe talent-wise that we're going to have going in for series, we're still going to be talking about the possibility of hosting a regional. So that's what my outlook.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of talent there. It's just kind of carving out who's going to be doing what, and and will they succeed in the roles that they're given. And then always the number one thing is team chemistry, right? And you've seen teams in the past have a lot of talent, but just not put it together on the field, and the results weren't there. And then you've just seen guys that love each other and play for each other, and you make a College World Series. So that will always be a thing as you have the transfer portal and almost a 50% roster turnover. All right, last question for each of you, and I'm going to end this thing. Knowing that Elliott Avent has never won an ACC championship, is it more important for him to win an ACC championship or to host a regional?
Wow, that's a good question.
I will take Omaha over an ACC championship any year.
Well, yeah,
but ACC
it's not the question, Cal.
ACC championship or regional are like synonymous. You can't win the ACC championship. It's almost impossible to win the ACC championship and not host a regional. Can't happen.
Yeah,
I think it happened to Duke.
It's fair. Yeah,
but for this program to win an ACC championship, to me, is probably more important to host a regional because we haven't done it.
I'm with you. And you're
That's
right.
a really good question.
That was a great question. Yeah.
Cal,
I think you're exactly right. Like, you don't win the ACC and not host.
Most likely,
in particular, the regular season.
Right.
Like there's just 0% chance.
But you could be like not a hosting team and get hot during the tournament and win the tournament, right? So,
yeah, for sure. My answer would be, I think he would tell you he'd rather host, but I think deep down he'd rather win an ACC title.
Right. There's the public answer, and then there's your beer drinking buddy's answer.
Right. Yeah.
We kind of went through that last year, right? At the end of the year, like, we ain't worried about regulars. Oh, shit, well, we all are worried about it. Like we got
it would have been a different tone if they had won.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Hey, look, we went longer than I was hoping for, but you guys have been troopers. I have enjoyed this conversation immensely. Hopefully our audience out there has as well. I'm going to give you each 30 seconds to plug all your awesomeness. Cal, I'll start with you. Tell people where they can find you and your great podcast.
I don't know about awesomeness, but so me and my buddies Adam and Wes, we do the Pack Homer Pod. Greg kind of mentioned it earlier. Our claim to fame is we are the only podcast devoted only to NC State baseball. We certainly are diehards. We love all Pack athletics, but baseball obviously has a special place in our hearts. So we'll be back for season 3 this year. The first year we did the podcast, we went to Omaha, didn't duplicate in year 2, but looking forward to it. And we're on Spotify, Apple, YouTube. But the Pack Homer Pod, check us out.
Yeah, love it. I always enjoy your guys' stuff. And Ethan?
Yeah. I mean, first of all, great. I mean, thank you for having us, Greg and Cal. Like, an NC State baseball only podcast is just a dream. But I'm on the IPS pods with James. Some of them.
Some of you talk baseball.
Me and James yell at each other. So yeah, all the stuff that he does. Some of it's post game talks and IPS and fives, IPS lives, all that stuff. And then I'm NC State Stats on Twitter as well. So post some stuff, just do some blabbering there with idiots on the internet. So I got to be one of those guys.
Absolutely. Well, guys, I greatly appreciate y'all. This has been, a dream of mine in the makings. I love talking baseball. And so, hopefully maybe we can talk about this when we make our trip to Omaha. And
here we go.
We can do that. So, all right, Wolfpack Nation, again, if you've hung with us this long, God bless you. We appreciate you. We're definitely looking forward to a run to Omaha this year, and we're excited. So we'll catch you on the next one, guys. All right, we're out, Wolfpack Nation.